Hello everyone, and welcome to Cognito Key. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something we use every single day but probably don't think much about. The unsung hero of your computer, the directory structure.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever just stopped and wondered, how on earth does your computer keep track of everything? I mean, we're talking thousands, maybe millions of files. How does it not just get lost in all that chaos?
Just imagine for a second trying to find one specific page in an office where every single document is just thrown into one giant pile on the floor. No folders, no cabinets, nothing. It'd be an absolute nightmare, right? Well, believe it or not, that's exactly what your computer would be dealing with without a system in place.
Okay, so let's get into the solution. The thing that saves us from that digital mess is the directory structure. And really, you can just think of it as our digital filing cabinet, the thing that brings order to all that chaos.
So, what is a directory really? It's actually pretty simple. You can think of a directory as a special kind of file, but instead of holding, your photos or documents, its whole job is to keep a list of information about other files. It's basically the table of contents for a part of your computer. And what kind of stuff is on that list? Well, for every single file, the directory keeps track of everything. Its name, what type of file it is, exactly where it's stored, who's allowed to open it, and even little details like who created it and the last time it was changed. It's like a super organized digital librarian for every file you have.
But here's the thing, not all digital filing cabinets are created equal. Just like in the real world, they've had to evolve over time as our computers got more powerful and our needs got more complex. So let's take a quick trip through that history, from a really simple single drawer all the way to the massive shared networks we use today.
First up, we have the most basic setup, the single-level directory. This is like having just one giant drawer for the entire computer. Yep, every single file from every single person all gets dumped into this one spot.
The good thing? It's super simple. But the bad thing? It's a huge problem. It's what we call naming conflicts. Imagine I make a file called My Report. Well, now you can't, because there can only be one file with that name. Not exactly great if more than one person is using the computer, right?
So obviously that had to change. The next step was the two-level directory. And the solution was pretty smart and simple. Just give every user their own personal folder. It's like giving everyone their own private drawer in the cabinet.
And bam, that solves the naming problem. Now you can have My Report in your folder, and I can have My Report in my folder. No confusion. But you guessed it, a new problem pops up. You can't organize anything inside your drawer. All your files are just in one big list, no subfolders allowed.
And that, of course, brings us to what most of us use every single day, the tree directory. This is the one that lets you have folders inside of other folders inside of other folders, you know the drill. The big rule here is that every file and every folder can only have one parent.
And the benefit here is huge, right? It's super organized, it's easy to find things. But that strict parent-child rule, well, it makes sharing kind of clumsy. It's really hard to have one file show up in two different places at the same time.
So to fix that problem, we get to something even more advanced, the acyclic-graph directory. It's a fancy name, but the idea is brilliant. It uses something called links. You probably know them as shortcuts. A link basically lets a single file show up in multiple folders at the same time, as if it has more than one parent.
Now this is a game changer for working together. You can have one file that a bunch of different teams can all access from their own folders without making tons of copies. It saves a lot of space and confusion. The only catch, it's, well, a lot more complicated for the computer to manage in the background.
Okay, so we've got these different ways of organizing files, but how do we actually use them? Well, it all comes down to a few basic actions or operations that let us keep everything neat and tidy.
And honestly, these are things you do all the time without even realizing it. You create a new document, you delete an old photo, you search for a file, you look at what's inside a folder, you rename something, and yeah, you can even link a file so it shows up somewhere else. These are the absolute basics of keeping our digital lives in order.
So, when you step back and look at it, it's pretty clear that these directory structures are the real unsung heroes of our computers, aren't they? They're working away in the background, making sure everything is organized so we can actually get stuff done. Let's just do a super quick recap of their journey.
First, we had the single-level system. One big messy drawer for everyone. Simple, but chaotic.
Then came the two-level system, which gave every user their own drawer to solve those annoying naming conflicts.
And finally, we got to the tree and acyclic graph systems, which give us the deep organization and flexible sharing that our modern digital lives depend on. You can see how each step was a clever solution to a new problem.
And at the end of the day, that's all a directory really is. It's not magic. It's just a special file that acts like a ledger, keeping perfect track of all your other files and folders.
So, here's a thought to leave you with. The next time you save a file or search for a photo, just take a second to think about that amazing, invisible system working behind the scenes. Without it, how would we ever find anything in this huge digital world of ours?
Hey, if you found this little deep dive helpful, we'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and maybe share it with a friend. It really helps us out. Thanks so much for joining us here on Cognito Key, and we'll see you in the next one.